Hello and welcome back to Talon 101. This time we're going to cover Spinning Axe Kick, FF+3. This is the one move where you can visually tell that you have frame advantage on hit and on block because it takes a while for the opponent to stand up again after getting hit by this move. And it is far enough in terms of range. That is pretty far. And it's been a staple of Hwoarang's ever since. Like, if you want to get frame advantage to continue pressuring the opponent, simply throwing out FF+3 was a good idea. However, you do need to keep note that if the opponent does backdash, you can't necessarily pressure them. The only time you can really do that is on hit because they can no longer backdash most of Hwoarang's options. So now this becomes a game of recognizing if it hit or it got blocked. Once you're able to differentiate between the two in real time, then this move, FF+3, is pretty dangerous. So of course, let's review the frame data. This move comes out at 20 frames, and it's +6 both on hit and on block. But on hit, that's force crouch, and on block, there's no force crouch property. Hwoarang will always go back to right foot forward after this move. So basically, this move on paper seems to be a heavy mid that gains frame advantage to pressure the opponent. And it's a, approach tool because we're sitting here maybe at around range 3.4, 3.5, and you saw at FF+3 because of, the forward input, you go closer towards the opponent. But of course, before we go to the on hit and on block differences, let's check where the move tracks on block first. If you do a move, let's say 0, right? If you do a standing 2, you're 0 on block, and you do a standing 1, you're +1. So your jabs, basically, your left and your right jab. And so we're gonna do the right jab first into FF+3. Again, you want to make sure you do FF+3, and you'll catch sidestep right. +1 as well, catching sidestep right. Going to go up to +5, also catching sidestep right. However, you do not catch sidewalk right at these frames. Go 0, Alisa sidewalks it. Go +1, Alisa sidewalks it. Go +5, Alisa sidewalks it. The only time Alisa cannot sidewalk it is at +6. And that's like one of the very few situations where you'll get +6. This move does not track in any way, shape, or form towards the left. That's 0 on block, that's +1 on block, and now this is +5. We'll do it one last time with +6, and still does not catch sidewalk left. So this move basically tracks towards the right all the time and does not catch someone who's going towards the left. Now let's cover the situation on hit, because it's a lot simpler to understand the on-hit situation. And the first thing you need to know is that you can prevent a Rage Art with a 13-frame move because you're +6. So Alisa cannot activate her Rage Art here with any 13-frame move I press. So that was DF1, DF3 +4, and RFF DF4. So you don't have to worry about losing to a Rage Art. That's like your first option that you can always go for if they go for an RA. But if they do go for, let's say, a Power Crush, you still use a 13-frame move, but you must be careful with the 13-frame move you use. So DF1 here would be able to punish Alisa's up-back 2. But if you use something like DF3 +4, even if it comes out 13 frames, you lose. And if you saw at RFF DF4 as well, you also still get punished. So that kind of sucks, wherein DF1 is your only option to really keep them in place if you don't know if they're going to do a Power Crush or a Rage Art. But barring those two options, Power Crush and Rage Art, if the opponent does decide to challenge on hit, it's more or less a 50-50, right? Because you lock them with RFF DF4 and you get all of that. That's a great situation to have for Hwoarang. And if they stop challenging because, they're afraid of losing to RFF DF4, you can now transform this into pretty much anything you want. You can go big with RFS down 4. You can go for a heat engager and RFS back 3. Or you can reset the pressure back with RFS 2. Don't want to do any of those things? You can always just stand switch into down 3-4. Because again, the opponent is waiting here. And you don't even have to do RFF DF4 anymore. They're locked in place because they don't want to lose to a 13-frame move. You can go straight for your JFSR or lethal skyrocket here. Or go down 3-4. Or of course, if you don't want to be too risky with down 3-4, then the down back 4 is always available. So that's more or less the situation on hit, because this is a 50-50 in open space or at the wall. Much more dangerous so at the wall, because if they do decide to press a button here, instead of you getting more plus frames, well, let's just say you're getting a lot. A lot. The situation that needs more deep diving or a magnifying glass, so to speak, is the situation on block. Because again, majority of Hwoarang's moves here would whiff. And of course, Alisa is definitely on the high end of back dashes here. So you can't really hit her if she decides to backdash. And that's like the opponent's best defensive option versus FF3. So if you wanted to catch a top tier backdash, one of the moves you have to rely on is DF3+4. And of course, that means going -14 if you don't have heat. But if you do have heat, that means this is a +5 heat dash situation. If you don't want to use Ignition Barrage, there's always double Claymore in right foot forward. However, that is a bit of a risk, but you are +6, so you will be able to tank most challenges. So like if the opponent does, let's say, decides to do a jab here, they're not punishing you there. Like they're locked into like that jab, and then you push them away, you go back to neutral, you're completely fine. The last thing that you may be able to do is right Plasma Blade, but that should whiff against Elisa. Yeah, because Elisa, a really good backdash. So right Plasma Blade is out of the picture here. Other options that you could do if you were not playing Elisa, RFF3. But RFF3, it's backdash here. And of course your low, down back 3. Your other lows like down back 4, if again their backdash is weaker, would catch down 4. And of course, a down 3-4. That rounds up all your lows. Of course, I mean the last low is RFF down 3+4, but that's a very short low. Now, if they decide to walk, right, it's a bit tricky. Because remember, you have space on block. And if they backdash, that increases. But of course, if they just simply sidestep or stay in place, right, the space you're working with is basically range 2. Well, according to the game, your distance between opponents 2.2 to 2.1. So moves that may catch sidestep right or sidestep left can whiff here. So we're just gonna use the extreme here and use sidewalk right. So one of the moves you're gonna do is RFF3. So luckily, that still catches Elisa from, you know, stepping towards the right. And of course, again, if that was like a weaker backdash, you're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone because RFF3 still catches backdash. Another move you can use is down back 4, if again, they weren't too far apart from you. So down back 4 is not part of this list. Neither is down 4, depending on like the matchup you're fighting. So I believe it was against Zafina, where down 4 completely whiffs. But here, against Elisa, it does connect, and down back 3 also whiffs here. So like your lows are highly dependent on the kind of backdash that you're fighting. Because everything else, right, that's a surprise. RFF back 2 be catching in this situation. So that's something you could rely on. And if like, again, their backdash is weak, RFF back 2 would catch just like RFF3. DF1, not gonna connect here. Neither would DF2. F1+2 does catch, but of course that's very short against backdash, so it's a risk. So let's move this to sidewalk left, right? And one of the reliable options would be RFF back 3. Of course, this means doing a -10 move, unfortunate as it is. And down back 4, if it, again, catches the opponent. So it caught Elisa going sidewalk right, but not sidewalk left. So we'll just check with the other lows here. Down back 3, and down 4. Down 4. So down 4 is like your go-to low if you do FF3 versus Elisa. So at this point, the opponent has the advantage, because the one thing you're really gonna do to prevent them from moving, if you don't want to use the other moves mentioned, and if you don't have heat, right, you're gonna go for a homing move, right? You're gonna throw out RFF DF3, Black Kite, such a reliable move because that catches backdash, right? And if we tell them to walk, it's gonna catch sidewalk right. It's also gonna catch sidewalk left, no problem. Now, the counterplay again to this move is that they simply have to jab float you. So if you go for FF3 into DF3 right away, that's what happens to you. So the one thing now you're gonna start doing to counter that gameplay is to look for whiffs. So now anytime you throw out FF3, you could, let's say, lock them in place. So that's gonna prevent them from backdashing. It's gonna prevent them from challenging. Actually, should prevent them even from walking to either side. Let's just double check that here with sidewalk right. That prevents sidewalk right. Sidewalk left. Oh yeah, so DF3+4 top tier in that regard. But again, that only if you have heat. If you don't have heat, it's a big risk. But that's why you're looking for that whiff. So you can either just risk it all without heat, or you play it really, really safe with something like double Claymore. But again, that loses to both walks. So at that point, you're throwing out RFF3. I guess again, dependent on the matchup. So again, there's a lot of specifics going down here for a spinning axe kick. That's why you can make your default option simply to backdash, just like your opponent. Or if not backdash, you can walk to either side, depending on like what kind of challenge they throw out. Because let's say they throw out a power crush, and you backdash that, that's a free punish. Albeit, yeah, I didn't punish it properly there, so I'll punish it properly now. It's a small punish, but again, a punish nonetheless. And you can still get this in the walk. So that catches sidewalk left, then you block it, right? FF3 again, sidewalk right, you block it. And then once the opponent, again, so many layers, so many things to go through before you are now allowed to take advantage of the frames. Because now if like the opponent's like, okay, I can't step because certain moves will catch me there. If Hwoarang has heat, then DF3+4 is just really, really good. And then if like they're baiting my whiffs, then I'm gonna lose, right? So maybe I'll just stay in place. So like if the opponent does decide to stay in place and they keep following with like the best defensive option, which is backdash, this is when you take advantage with like running 3, running 4, or even dash into RFF back 2, or dash into down 3-4. So of course, that's like the last layer of the mix-up. So you're trying to battle against every defensive option first before you can get to this point. Because RFF DF3 could proceed, you know, taking the frames first, right? So you want to beat the jab float with the whiff, see if they want to whiff first and whatnot, and then just go from there. So this move has a lot more potential at the wall, because at the wall here, there's no room for backdashing. And a lot more of your options that catch sidestep left and sidestep right would actually connect at this point. So you don't have to worry about the opponent really avoiding you besides like sidestep left in right foot forward. But if you're in open space, you're playing this big mini game on how the opponent's gonna react compared to on hit or at the wall. So spinning axe kick, in a nutshell, is a really good move to gain reactions from the opponent. And you can throw it out from a far distance, and now this can get mixed with stuff like wall standing 4, and then you can still play the spacing game. So you can space out, bring back RFF DF3's mix-up. If not that, you can always prevent challenges right away, or if you have heat, you can take your frame advantage and go in. Of course, naturally, if this move does hit, go ham with it, because, you know, there's no way the opponent's going anywhere, not unless you're pressing like a really, really slow move. But again, yeah, that's everything I know about spinning axe kick FF3. That's been the lesson for this video. Again, I've been Frontier, and thank you for watching.